Chapter 1. The Festering. His first day back from the 4th of July vacation, Leroy Sabiziak knew he'd get some good target practice with the rats in Area 17. Garbage Siberia, he muttered to himself as he mounted his bulldozer. He checked the stubble on his leathery face, made certain his flask of vodka was tucked into the hip pocket of his overalls, and left the main sanitation depot at 7:05 a.m. He headed the bulldozer out past the asphalt cover of the dump to what was left of the open garbage. He was glad the dump was nearly sealed. He'd been working there from the beginning, before it had the fancy name of the Staten Island landfill. 2 decades of breathing the reeking garbage was enough. In a few weeks he'd be retired, start collecting on a fat pension with health and dental, and it'd be time to dream. He kept his eye out for rats as he edged the bulldozer along the south rim of the asphalt. The mall was across the highway. On his right was one of the new black mountains of tar. "I'm gonna miss ya," he yelled at the smothered dump. "Yeah, I'll miss ya." "Hi, guys," Leroy called out as he drove the bulldozer onto the freshly dumped garbage and saw the first few rats of the day scurrying across the top of a heap of meat scraps. "I'm going to see a lot of you by the farm today," he said, stopping to grab his BB gun and fire off a few shots. "It's going to be my little farewell present to you all." Leroy knew he would have gone nuts if he hadn't made a game out of the rats from the beginning. He could hit a rat on the run at 50 feet, hit it right in the face. About that, he was very proud. Leroy had noticed the increase in rats over the last few weeks. He'd shot hundreds of them, but there were so many, he'd taken to bringing along city-issued packets of poison that he'd dip in peanut butter. "You love peanut butter, don't you, fellas?" Leroy shouted at the rats. He knew they loved peanut butter more than anything else. Their next favorites were sardines and beer. "Love your poison with a little fish and brew, don't you?" He could always tell when rats had gotten a good dose, because the poison would react with the rats' digestive juices and puff them up with gas. The rats would swell up to twice their size before they died a horrible, painful death. He'd hear them dying. In their last hour, they'd stagger over the top of the dump like drunk balloons. Leroy loved pumping their bloated bodies full of BBs. He'd hit them dead in their eyes, making their eyeballs pop and leak and explode out of their sockets. Leroy spotted a fresh pile of dumped appliances and furniture. He left the bulldozer motor running and got down with the BB gun to check things out. "Looking for a good refrigerator," he mumbled. "Wouldn't mind finding a decent cutting board, either." Half his house was furnished with stuff he'd found at the dump, including a 21-inch mahogany TV picture-in-picture and a swap button. Bing! Bing! He got off a few good shots at the bloated rats on top of the body of a dead collie somebody had thrown out with the trash. People had no respect anymore when it came to what was legal garbage and what wasn't. He plodded farther away from the bulldozer and pulled his boots up as he sank deeper into the garbage. For a while, he forgot about the time and enjoyed shooting every rat he could. When he turned to start back to the bulldozer, he noticed a half-dozen very large rats sitting on a distant ridge of garbage. Bing! Bing! He fired at them, one after the other. He hit several of them right in the head. Dark red fluid gushed out of their mouths and ears. He was about 50 feet from the bulldozer and went after another line of fat rats that appeared on the highest ridge. "I'll shoot you in your ears," Leroy yelled at them. "In your ears and your bellies. I'll hit you where it hurts." He spotted a swollen mother rat trying to salvage her nest of straw and threads and